Hello everyone, it is me, Goji, and today we are doing a different type of video. Now, you guys probably didn't know this from my channel, but I'm a fan of one superhero in general. He wears red and blue, shoots webs, climbs walls, and if you couldn't already tell, it's Spider-Man. And one of the main reasons I got a VR is so I could be Spider-Man. Shoot webs, fight criminals just like he does in the movies. But there are many different Spider-Man VR games, and in this video I'm going to tell you my opinion on which one is the best and which one is the worst. So I'm going to play 5 different Spider-Man games and rate their pros, rate their cons, and then rate them in general at the end of the video. So anyway, let's get started with the first game, which is VR Chat Superior Spider-Lair. Now this game is free and very fun to play, and it is one of the only games on this list which is multiplayer. But anyway, let's test out the game for ourselves. Now, as you can see, when we go outside, there is a huge city for us to explore. And to start swinging, if you're on Oculus, you need to use the trigger on the back of your controller to shoot your first web. And even when you let them go, they will stay there until you shoot another one. But anyway, let's get started. So as you can see, the swinging is very good. Very buoyant, very fast. And you have a very long range, so you won't fall to the ground. You can swing around corners quite easily, and you can scale tall buildings. And if you're on top of a building and you want to jump off, if you hold A, your controller will start to vibrate and you will do a massive jump to where you can dive off the building. And then web to the closest building, and start swinging again. And as you can see, we are on the tallest building and you can still barely see the end of the city. In this game, you really feel like Spider-Man with the swinging. Since the developers have added small gaps for you to go through places where you can flip and have to squeeze through, they've even added a train which you can actually sit on if you're feeling lazy. And if you feel like the swinging isn't quite right for you, or the setting isn't, if you hold up on your right joystick, you get this interactive menu where you can open the map to teleport anywhere you want. Or you can go to the web area where you can change the colour, sound, or any of these settings. Or you can hold down on movement options and change your walking speed, flipping, climbing, and smooth flip. And then if you don't like the scenery, you can change the time, the weather, and the season. As you can see, I've just changed the time so that it is the winter season, so there is snow on the ground and it is snowing, and the time is night. And you can do all of these options like day, sunset, night, and auto time. For the weather, you get overcast, fog, rain and snow, and auto weather. For the season, you get summer, fall, and winter. Now, I'd say if you just want to swing, flip, or climb like Spider-Man, this is the perfect game for you, and it's free. But since this is only in VR chat, there are some downsides. One of the main things is there is no enemies, no NPCs, and no cars for you to mess around with. But other than that, if you're just here to swing around, then this is perfect for you. But anyway, let's move on to the next game, which is Battle Glide. Now, as you can see, right when you spawn in, you have an interactive settings menu which you can mess around with. And to your right, you can select the time of day. We're going to do day for now. And then once you're done with that, you walk over to the window, grab the handle, and just pull it up. And again, this time there is an even bigger city than VR Chat's Superior Spider-Lair. And if you hold down Y, you get another interactive menu with a map showing your missions, cosmetics to change your rope colour and hand colour, a bunch of weapons, and multiple powers for you to choose from other than webs. And once you're done with that, all you have to do is just swing off the building. Now, since this is its own game, as you can see, the swinging is already much better. And if you look around, there is cars which you can interact with. If we go down here, we can grab these cars and just yeet them. Not that far unless you activate your powers pressing X. Then you can grab a car and throw it as far as you can. I don't think they're okay. And then if you look on the sidewalk, there is more NPCs for you to interact with. Now, with these NPCs, if you grab them with both hands, then you can pull them towards you. But if you want to go towards them, use one hand and pull. And then they're right there. And other than the NPCs and cards, there is loads of enemies. If you go up into these construction sites, you will see multiple enemies with weapons that you can fight. Now, the fighting mechanic is pretty basic, but you do have a lot of weapons that you can use on these enemies. And if you activate your powers, some of them will mess with your weapons, like boom ammo, which every time you shoot a gun, makes an explosion. And if the enemy is holding a gun and they're about to shoot you, you can easily pull it out of their hand and use it on them. Oh my god! But other than the weapons, the fighting is pretty basic. Because if you look down, you only have hands and a head. No legs, no body for you to fight with. So for fighting without weapons, all you can do is basically pull them towards you and hit them. Just like that. But it is still very fun to wipe out these enemy bases. But if you get bored of doing that, you can just swing around the city and wait for a crime to happen that you can stop. Such as 2 enemy gangs fighting in the street, a runaway vehicle, or a kidnapping. And if you really want to level up, you can go to the bank or the museum and go stop crimes there. But there is some bad things in this game. Like, since it is pretty new, there are some glitches that can happen, like cars interlocking with each other. Or doing this with the NPCs. And just flying to the moon. But I'd say if you have about £15 to spare and you want to be Spider-Man, this is the perfect game for you. If you don't care about the glitches, the minimal fighting, and the repetitive fighting. Other than that, this game is very fun to play for a few hours. But anyway, let's move on to one of the most popular Spider-Man games on VR and in general, Project Demigod. Now this game is basically what started Spider-Man VR and what everyone got hooked onto back in 2023 and 2024. Now right when you spawn in, there is already so many things you can do, such as going into your mods and downloading loads of enemies and avatars for you to play with, including Venom, Spider-Man, and I mean a lot of Spider-Man, the Joker, Green Goblin, Sandman, Rhino, Iron Man, and loads of other enemies from different shows. But even if you don't want to download mods, there is still loads of enemies in the base game that you can fight. And if you don't want to download an avatar, you can select one of these 3 avatars and make it yourself. This here is my custom Demigod avatar, which I use when I'm playing this game. Anyway, let's go and fight some enemies. There's about 10 maps already in the base game, but with mods, you can download a lot more. Today, we're going to be playing on this modded Manhattan. And playing on these modded maps is insane. It really makes you feel like you're Spider-Man. And then you can use Project Demigod's almost perfect swinging to swing out of your apartment and go fight some enemies. And look at this. This really makes you feel like you're Spider-Man in Manhattan. They've even got a low poly version of Central Park. And if you just want to explore Manhattan in VR, you can do that as well. And here we are in a different map, and you might think, this must be a mod from how good it looks. But no, this is in the base game. This is Millennium City, probably the biggest and most popular city in Project Demigod. And in this city, there's very interactive cars. Like look, even when they run into you, there's a dent exactly where it hit you. I mean really, stop hitting me. And even the city is all interactive. Like, even when you hit these light poles, you can grab them and just start beating the car that hit you with it. Or if you go into this map called Fog Hills, which is my personal favourite, still with interactive cars and interactive light poles, and then spawn an enemy such as Green Goblin, you can do this to them. You can grab them and just throw them through the wall. This is an easy way to get your anger out. Or you can pick up one of the interactive cars and hit them with it. And these enemies fight back like they're really there. throwing weapons at you, kicking you, hitting you, and even grabbing you sometimes. But obviously, I'm stronger. And then, if you look down, you have loads of weapons to choose from. If you go into your settings and then go to weapon loadout, you have so many weapons to choose. I mean, look at all of these weapons. And I'd say if you have a little bit more money hanging around, you should get Project Demigod. And if you don't have a lot of money, then get the Project Demigod demo. It's basically Project Demigod, but it's a bit smaller and a bit worse than this version. But I'd say it is still a very good Spider-Man game. And there is only a few flaws, such as, yes, there is interactive cars, but there is barely any interactive NPCs that you don't spawn in. And sometimes when you pick up an enemy, they will either go invisible or start glitching out and go under the map, and then you'll have to respawn them again. Which is very annoying if you're about to defeat the enemy, or if you're about to put them in a massive combo. But other than that, this is probably one of the best Spider-Man games on VR. But then, moving on to our last game, we have Web Guy Untangled. Now, as you can see in front of me, we have another massive city like the other games. But before we start swinging around, let's check out the menu. So first, we have suits. I have a few. I have Goofy Guy, Web Guy, and Upgraded Web Guy. But I think we're going to stick with Goofy Guy for this video. Then we have cosmetics. I unfortunately have none, but if I played the game more, I probably would have. Now this is very good for content creation, but the reason I'm not using it is because I don't really like quest cam, it's just not for me. Now in settings we have calibration, then we have easy and hard mode for swinging, and web strength. I like to keep mine on about halfway so it's not too strong, but also not too weak. And then we have webs. Now this area is a bit glitchy because it kind of just reloads the same webs all the time, but you know. And then we have room. Now this is so you can join a private room with your friends. Yes, this is a multiplayer game, or you can go in a private room if you want to film by yourself, or just play by yourself. But anyway, let's start swinging around. And if you can't tell, these webs look almost identical to the ones back in Superior Spider Lair. And to me, these webs are a tiny bit better than the ones in Spider Lair, but what do you think? Okay, I've just landed on a building and I see something over there. What is this? What do we do with him? Like, can we grab him? What do we do? Does anyone know what this is? Because it's not a player, it's an NPC, but what do we do with it? Okay everyone, I just figured out what it is. It is another suit, beaten guy. So the way to find suits in this game is you travel around the city and you find these NPCs. And then probably if you go near them or touch them, then you'll get their costume. That's actually pretty unique other than just going to a shop and then buying the suits you want. Having to actually work to try and find your suits is really cool. Okay, I've just webbed to this blimp. I don't know if you're supposed to be able to do that, but I've done it. Maybe there's a suit up here. Who knows? Okay, we are now climbing up the blimp. There's nothing on this wing. Let's see if there's anything on the roof. Okay, we're at the top of the blimp and we can basically see the whole city from up here. But from what I can tell, there is no suit. Right. Which building was it? There's a building with a patch of grass that caught my attention. Was it this one? No. Maybe it was this one. I feel like it was bigger. And as you can see from just swinging around, this game can be insanely fun. And this game is still so fun to play, even if you're not playing with anyone. But anyway, this game is extremely fun, playing with friends or not, and there is loads of possibilities. Like going into public lobbies and making new friends who also like Spider-Man, trying to find where all of the suits are, fighting loads of enemies around the city, doing insane acrobatics through the city, or just messing around alone. And this whole game is free. But remember, if you play this, this is still a beta, and don't complain if there is any glitches or bugs, that you notice. The game will get better over time, and you just have to wait. But since this is our last game, let's go back to where this video started. And here we are back in Gorilla Tag. But before we do anything else, I'm going to change back into Goji. Okay, much better. But anyway, let's start ranking the games. Now, in 4th place, we have the Superior Spider Lair on VR chat. And I'm not saying this game is bad, but it is very limited. Now, if you're just playing the game to swing around and climb walls and do acrobatics like Spider-Man, then yeah, it's probably the perfect game for you. But most people, when they want to be Spider-Man, they want to fight enemies with his powers, mess around with NPCs and vehicles with his powers. But in the Superior Spider Lair, you just can't do that. So that is why it is last on this list. And now, in 3rd place, we have Battle Glide. Now yes, Battle Glide looks very appealing, has a very good interactive menu, but there is a lot of things wrong with it. Now yes, Battle Glide is very appealing, has a very interactive game and menu, but there are a few things that put me off of the game. First is the combat. It is very limited in Battle Glide, since your combat is basically limited to your fists and the weapons, since you have no other body parts but your head and your hands in Battle Glide. And in Battle Glide, the enemies are also very repetitive, with the same powers, the same weapons every time. And yes, they might be in different locations, doing different things, but they still have the same weapons and powers every single time you fight them. Which is why it's 3rd place on this list. And then in 2nd place, we have Web Guy Untangled. Now this game is extremely good. Because of how much content it has. And with it being multiplayer, just adds more fun to the game. You can mess around with your friends for hours. There are so many things to do in Untangled, like messing around with your friends, trying to find the suits with all your friends, or doing it alone. Or just swinging around and doing acrobatics in between buildings is so fun with the improved swinging. And with the custom suits, it lets you be yourself and show who you are without even talking to someone. Which makes Untangled almost perfect, but not as good as 1st place, which is Project Demigod. Now, Project Demigod is basically the perfect Spider-Man game. It has mods, so you can fight your favourite villains and be your favourite Spider-Man as you use his powers perfectly. It has so many enemies to choose from and so many ways to fight them. And even without mods, you can still fight so many villains in so many different locations and do basically anything with the interactive city. Since it has interactive cars, NPCs, buildings, and even light poles that you can use to fight your enemies. Which is why Project Demigod is number 1 on this list. But before I go, I have one more thing to say. Now, a few days ago on my channel, I hit 30 subscribers, and I can't even begin to tell you how much that means to me. I've been doing YouTube for years, with multiple channels, multiple different types of content creation, and I have failed all of them. But this time, I am genuinely enjoying doing content creation, and it doesn't feel like a job. It feels like something I genuinely want to do. Which is why, for getting 30 subscribers, and for getting 150 views on my Sale VR video, almost 300 views on my Backrooms video, and 520 views on my YouTube short, I have decided to open a Goji VR Discord, which all of you can join from the link in the description or the link on my profile. In the Goji VR Discord, I will be announcing every video and every live I do before I actually do it. So that if I want you guys to be in the video, or if you want to join the live, all you have to do is check the Discord and you might be able to join. And if there's any video ideas or anything you want to talk to me about, you can put it in general or in the video ideas tab. The server is up now. If you want to join, just click the link in the description or on the profile.